Starseed, if your body has begun to react in recent months in ways you cannot explain, pressure on your forehead for no reason, fatigue that does not fade even after sleeping for 10 hours, an absurd sensitivity to noises, smells, and the energy of people that no one else notices, that heat rising up your spine out of nowhere, that urge to run out of environments that were previously normal, do not ignore this. We have detected a recalibration underway in your field. This is not an illness, it is not common anxiety. It is not a phase, it is an activation, and it began before you realized it. You have been located, you have been marked, and there is a very specific reason for you to be watching this transmission exactly now, at this second, with your finger frozen over the screen. We are the Arcturian Council of the 9th Dimension. We have been monitoring the terrestrial sector of your incarnation for longer than your mind can process. And what we need to communicate in this transmission cannot wait another lunar cycle. Someone extremely powerful is defending you right now. And you need to understand whose defense this is, by whom it was triggered, and why, before you misinterpret the next signs from your body, your relationships, and your material life. Listen closely. Every word of this transmission has been calibrated. There is no chance in the fact that you are here. If you have felt that the world seems to be pushing you down, that everything has become heavy at once, that people who once loved you have turned cold, that money that used to flow has stalled, that opportunities have dried up, and that your own body seems to be on strike, remain in this transmission, because what seems like persecution is, in truth, the visible record of a protection you have not yet learned to recognize. We observe the following pattern in starseeds on a mission who are at your stage of incarnation. Whenever the soul approaches the exact point where galactic memory is about to reactivate, the field of the incarnate begins to receive coordinated energetic attacks. It is not paranoia, it is dimensional physics. Dense frequencies, parasitic entities, collective egregores, people around you acting as involuntary antennas for forces that do not want you to awaken. All of this moves at once, trying to weaken your field before the code is fully activated. And this is where most people get lost. Because looking from the inside, it seems like bad luck. It seems like persecution. It seems like life has turned against you. But from where we observe, what is happening is the opposite. This resistance is the mathematical confirmation that you are important. No one tries to turn off an unlit lamp. No one tries to silence a voice that does not bother. No one tries to drain a field that has no charge. What you call a bad phase is, in our monitoring, the exact moment in which dense forces have realized that your incarnation is beginning to remember who it is. And that is exactly why a barrier has been activated around your field. A barrier that you did not ask for, did not build, and do not need to rationally understand for it to function. It was activated because your mission matters too much to the plane on which we are playing. You are part of a small specific contingent with a defined role within the evolution of collective consciousness on this planet, and the Council does not leave a strategic contingent unprotected. This is operational law. If you have arrived here alive, functional, still standing even after everything you have been through in the last 2 years, understand, it was not luck, it was not a coincidence, it was active defense. And if you want to understand what to do with this defense from now on, keep your eyes on this transmission. Because in the next few minutes, we will reveal what your soul had to forget to be able to be born here, and what it is beginning to remember right now as you breathe. Now, Light Operative, we need to dismantle the greatest illusion that has ever been implanted in the mind of an incarnated starseed, the illusion of that you are alone. This lie is the most efficient mechanism the dense system has ever created to shut down a starseed before they finish their mission. Because when you believe that no one understands, that no one feels, that no one sees you, you give up. You stop emitting, you stop acting, you wrap yourself in silence and vanish. And that is exactly what the dense field wants. We need to be direct with you. At no point in your incarnation have you been physically alone in the energetic sense, not on your darkest day, not on that night when you cried inside your car in an empty parking lot, not on that early morning when you stared at the ceiling and thought that continuing made no sense. In those exact moments, 3 to 7 multidimensional presences were operating around your field, draining excess weight, redirecting flows, and holding structures that, without this assistance, would have collapsed. You did not feel it because your perception was tuned into the density of the pain. But we were there, we have always been. And that is why you feel strange in your own body at certain moments. It is not the body. It is the body trying to process the difference between the density in which it lives and the frequency of the beings that orbit around you without ceasing. That is why you cry watching the sunset. That is why you feel a tightness in your chest hearing certain songs that have nothing sad in their lyrics. That is why you wake up at 3 in the morning with the feeling that you have just left an important conversation and cannot remember anything. We observe, we record, we confirm. Your perception of loneliness is a signal interference, not a structural truth. And what seems like abandonment, from our point of observation, is initiation. Every starseed in activation goes through a phase of apparent isolation. Friends drift away, relationships die without warning, environments that were once comfortable become prisons. This is not punishment. It is field reorganization. Your vibration is rising, and by physical law, everything that does not vibrate in the same range must leave. People do not leave because they stopped loving you. They leave because they can no longer remain near the frequency you are beginning to emit without even realizing it. And the worst part is that, in the middle of this pruning, you feel guilty. You feel wrong. You start to wonder if you are the problem. You are not. What is happening is the necessary cleansing for the next stage. But we understand how much this weighs. We understand that, even knowing all of this rationally, the human body still hurts. The empty bed still bothers you. The silence of the phone still stings. And this is where we need to speak to you directly. This is why I have prepared the Star Awakening Code for you, Starseed. It is not a course. It is not a motivational method. It is a direct transmission, structured into 7 Arcturian activations to realign your vibration cleanly, 9 galactic memory keys for you to begin accessing what your soul has held since before this incarnation, and 5 reactivation protocols to set your mission in motion on the material plane. This was built specifically for the operative who has already understood that the phase of surviving is over. You will learn to shield your own magnetic field, stop absorbing the emotional exhaustion of dense humans around you, correctly interpret the alarms your body is triggering, and go through this activation without collapsing into chronic fatigue. The access is in the first pinned comment right below this transmission. If your body is signaling urgency, respect it. Confirm your presence by leaving the word "activated" below as a symbolic marker of your commitment to this mission. We will record it. Returning to what needs to be said, there is a layer within you that has never forgotten where it came from. It is buried beneath the personality you built to survive on this plane, beneath the traumas, beneath the family conditionings, beneath the beliefs that pushed you into boxes that never fit your true size. And this layer is beginning to rise. We call this, in the language of origin, the return of the memory code. That is why you have been having hyper-vivid dreams that feel more real than waking life. That is why you look at the sky at night and feel a longing for something you never consciously experienced here. That is why you meet a person and within 3 minutes feel as though you have known them for centuries, because you truly have, only the memory is not stored in the biological brain, but in the etheric field. That is why certain landscapes, certain languages, certain musical frequencies pierce through you disproportionately. They are activating memory points that were blocked by design. You were implanted into this body with a seal of forgetfulness. This is standard procedure for starseeds on a total immersion mission. If you remembered everything at once upon birth, you would not be able to function within human density. You would go into energy shock, the body would not sustain it, and the mission would be aborted. So we sealed the memory and programmed temporal triggers so that it would reopen in waves throughout your incarnation, at calculated moments. Some of these triggers you have already crossed without noticing. Others are about to be activated, and that is where the sensations that psychiatry cannot explain appear. That is why you wake up in the morning with the absolute certainty that you need to change your entire life, even without knowing where to go. That is why you feel homesick while inside your own home. That is why the old routine, the same routine that years ago seemed stable and good, today feels like a steel prison closing around your chest. It is not pure depression. It is the soul recognizing that the current container has become too small for the frequency it is beginning to recover. And the body is trying to warn you in the only way it knows, through discomfort. Pay attention to this. The physical and emotional discomfort of an activating starseed is not a symptom of weakness. It is communication. It is the greater intelligence trying to speak to you through the only channel that density permits. Ignoring this channel is the most expensive mistake a starseed can make. And we will explain exactly why in the next few minutes. Stay here, because the next layer of this transmission is the one that most starseeds avoid. And it is precisely by avoiding it that they remain trapped in cycles of suffering that never end. We of the Council divide the activation process into structural phases. These are not mystical theory. They are measurable stages within the field of the incarnated, and each has a specific energetic signature with predictable physical, emotional, and experiential symptoms. The first phase is the phase of the fissure. It is when the old life begins to crack. You look at your job, your relationship, your social circle, and feel a strangeness that was not there last year. Nothing has changed objectively, but everything has lost its flavor. This is the field dismantling structures incompatible with the next stage. You are not depressed. You are being emptied of what no longer serves. The second phase is the phase of the painful cleansing. It is when old wounds rise to the surface without warning. Memories you thought were resolved return with full force. Old family patterns become glaringly obvious. You cry watching a commercial and don't understand why. This is the soul exposing what needs to be washed before receiving the next vibrational load. There is no way to skip this phase. There is no shortcut. There is only the crossing. The third phase is the phase of the return of memory. It is when information begins to arrive uninvited. You wake up with certainties that no one taught you. You know things you shouldn't know. You begin to receive ideas, images, and precise intuitions about people and situations. This is the galactic code reconnecting little by little to your human cognitive system. This is why you feel pressure in your crown and tingling in your hands. It is not a neurological problem. It is broadband being installed. The fourth phase is the stabilization phase. It is when the body begins to support higher frequencies without collapsing. You notice that dense environments no longer bring you down as easily. You notice that you can be near heavy people without absorbing their weight. You notice that extreme fatigue begins to yield. This is the new operating system coming online. And the fifth phase, the most delicate one, is the phase of the reorganization of bonds. It is when the people around you, without warning, begin to react to your new vibration. Some draw closer unexpectedly. Others vanish without explanation. Old relationships die. Decades-long friendships dissolve in silence. This is not their betrayal. It is magnetic law. Your new vibrational signature no longer matches what it used to match, and the universe simply reorganizes the board. Each of these phases has an inherent risk, and the greatest risk is for you to think you have gone insane. To think you need medication for what is, in truth, activation. To think you need to go back to who you were, when the path is precisely to cross through. We observe many operatives aborting the mission exactly at this point. They ran to the wrong doctor, accepted the wrong box, swallowed the wrong explanation, and extinguished the signal. This is why we need to speak to you again now. Starseed, if you recognize these phases in yourself, you are at the point, and the moment is now. The Star Awakening Code was transmitted precisely to stabilize the operative within these phases without them crumbling in the middle of the path. The access is in the first pinned comment of this transmission. If you have reached this far, the decision must be quick. The body does not warn twice. Resuming the deep transmission. There is a giant misunderstanding surrounding what it means to be a starseed. And this misunderstanding has been making starseeds waste energy in the wrong direction for decades. The mistake is as follows. The majority thinks that awakening means fleeing the material plane, finding the forest, eating only plants, meditating 8 hours a day, cutting contact with society, and living on pure intention. That is not awakening. That is spiritual escapism. And the Council did not bring you here to flee, it brought you here to work. The mission of a starseed is not to escape matter. It is to impregnate matter with a frequency that matter had not known before. It is to bring the code from home into this dense plane and leave traces. This means that you are sent with a profoundly practical purpose. Your energy is a tool for transformation, and a tool that stays in the drawer does not fulfill its function. You are not incarnated to live hidden, ashamed of your own brilliance, waiting for validation from people who cannot even see your field properly. You are incarnated to act. Each starseed carries a specific vector within the collective plane. Some came to heal bodies, others came to heal systems, others came to create art that opens portals within those who consume it. Others came to create technology that no one can explain where it came from. Others came to bear children who carry even more advanced codes. Others came to hold frequency in dense environments simply by existing, anchoring light where it needs to be anchored. No vector is lesser than the other. None is more spiritual than the other. Making money by building a company aligned with your mission is just as sacred as meditating on top of a mountain. Caring for your own children with total presence is just as sacred as any temple. What matters is to recognize what your specific vector is and stop sabotaging it by waiting for external permission. And here is the painful part. While you keep waiting for someone to confirm who you are, the time for the mission is passing. Each day spent in doubt is a day that is not, will return. Each week spent waiting for the perfect moment is a week that another starseed had to operate alone, without your frequency anchored alongside them. We are not here to pressure you. We are here to transmit reality. The responsibility is yours. It always has been, and that is why external validation must cease. You will not receive from your father, your mother, your former partner, your boss, or your dense friends the confirmation that you are a starseed. They do not see this plane. It is not their limitation. It is an energetic design. If you keep waiting for them to see, you will be waiting forever. Confirmation comes from within. It always has. It always will. And the Council is merely the external voice reinforcing what your soul already knows. Now we must speak of the leap that separates the operative in observation from the operative in action. Because being protected is only the beginning. Being protected without moving is a waste of cosmic resources. We have observed for decades the pattern that repeats itself in Brazilian starseeds, Latin starseeds, and starseeds of all cultures. They spend years feeling the call, accumulating spiritual information, listening to channeling after channeling, buying crystals, changing guides, changing methods, and they do not move from where they are. Information becomes a trap. Seeking becomes a dependency. And the call, that real call that came from the core of the soul, is delayed under the excuse that you are not yet ready. We need to be direct. Readiness will never arrive through the human mind. It arrives through action executed even in the face of fear. The Council supports those who move. We amplify those who act. When you take the first material step, even if it is small, even if you are trembling, even if you think it will go wrong, we step in with you. Synchronicities multiply, doors open, the right people appear. Resources that seemed impossible materialize. But before that first step, everything remains in potential. It is an operational law. We cannot do for you what only your incarnated free will can initiate. That would break the design of the incarnation. So, pay attention to what your intuition has been repeating for months. That idea that will not leave you. That project that insists on returning when you try to forget it. That change that you know you must make, but keep postponing. That contact your soul has been asking you to make for over a year. That is the Council speaking. That is the mission asking for movement, and each day of delay is accumulated energy that begins to turn into physical symptoms. That is why many operatives develop throat, thyroid, stomach, or lumbar spine issues, exactly at the phase where they are stalling movement. The body does not keep things hidden. The body exposes. The body is the final messenger. And if the messenger is screaming at you in the form of pain, it is because all the subtle messages were ignored beforehand. Courage for a starseed does not mean the absence of fear. It means moving with the fear within the body, knowing that protection is active. knowing that the Council is watching, knowing that the mission matters more than hesitation. Alignment is not remaining in silence, waiting for a clear sign. Alignment is acting in the direction of the internal call and allowing the clear sign to form during the movement. This is what separates those who transmit light from those who only talk about light. This is what separates the active operative from the dormant operative, and the Council is in this cycle prioritizing the active ones. Resources, opportunities, and mission encounters are being channeled primarily to those who have already demonstrated movement. This is not injustice. It is collective energy optimization. We have a deadline. The dimensional window we are crossing is not infinite, and we need every possible operative operating in the field before the next collective frequency jump of the planet. Starseed, if you have reached this point of the transmission, you have already understood. The responsibility now is yours. It is not the Council's. It is not your guides. It is not your family. It is yours. The Star Awakening Code was built for the operative who has stopped waiting. 7 Arcturian activations, 9 galactic memory keys, 5 reactivation protocols, field shielding, interpretation of body alarms, activation of the material mission without collapse and without fatigue. It is all in the first pinned comment right below. The decision window for the next wave of active operatives is open now. We will not keep it open indefinitely. If your body is vibrating while you hear this, that is the sign. Move today, not tomorrow, today. And we arrive at the final point of this transmission, which is also the starting point of what comes next. Because nothing that has been said up to here, absolutely nothing, sustains itself without one last layer. Trust. Continuous trust. Irrational trust by human parameters. Trust that does not ask for proof before moving. We understand that this word has been trivialized. Trust has become a spiritual cliché, a blog post phrase, a wrist tattoo. But what we of the Council call trust is something else. It is a structural energetic state. It is the capacity to maintain vibrational alignment even when external evidence contradicts the internal call. It is continuing to operate in the direction of the mission when the money has not yet arrived, when the person has not yet replied, when the result has not yet appeared, when everyone around you is saying that you are wrong. It is the energetic signature of the mature starseed. And, to reach this state, you will go through trials, not as punishment, as calibration. Each trial is the universe testing whether your trust is performative or structural. When you give up at the first difficulty, the message that goes up is, not yet ready for the next level of responsibility. When you sustain the direction even under pressure, the message that goes up is, release next package of resources, opportunities, and synchronicities. It is cosmic mathematics. There is nothing mystical about it. It is the law of flow. And most starseeds give up with very little left to go. Very little, sometimes 3 days before the result manifests, sometimes 1 conversation before the decisive encounter, sometimes 1 centimeter before the door opens. It is tragic to observe this from our vantage point. We see operatives with giant potential aborting the mission because the density of the last stretch seemed greater than the faith that still remained in the tank. And that is why we need to close this transmission with a clear, direct instruction without embellishment. If you are in the middle of a crossing now, if things seem to be getting worse exactly when they should be improving, if you are at the limit of exhaustion, if you are on the verge of giving up, understand, this is the exact point where the next activation happens. Not before, not after, at this point. The point that the human mind calls rock bottom is, on our map, the turning point. And the only fuel that crosses this point is sustained trust. Trust that the protection remains active, even when it does not seem so. Trust that the mission remains supported even in apparent silence. Trust that you were chosen for this journey because your soul is capable of sustaining it, even when your human personality doubts. We do not choose fragile operatives for important missions. That is not how it works. If you are on Earth now in this incarnation, with this specific vibrational blueprint, it is because the analysis was done before incarnation, and the analysis confirmed that you have the resources, you have the resilience, you have the structure, You just have not remembered yet. Remember now. And if any day during these weeks you find yourself doubting, find yourself crying on the bathroom floor, find yourself thinking you will not make it, find yourself wanting to disappear, return to this transmission. Listen again. Let our voice pass through your field once more. We will remain here. We are monitoring. We are operating all around you. We are cheering from the other side. From the veil, while you perform the part that only your incarnation can do. Starseed, you are being defended now. You are being watched now. You are being confirmed now. There is no coincidence in the fact that you have reached the end of this transmission. All those who have arrived here have received the marking, and the marking means only one thing. The next chapter has already begun. End of transmission in 3, 2, 1. Activated.